I feel like self-acceptance is something that everyone has had an experience on working with. You see all these quotes, obviously going to be on the internet, involving self-acceptance, so you generally get the idea of how it should work, but integrating it is a lot different than what it looks like. Yes, I understand that true peace is having peace with oneself, and yes, of course, I'm going to have to acknowledge my own imperfections and mistakes, but honestly, to me, that's just being aware of it, and it usually becomes knowledge that you'll just lock away in a mental safe because the answer to those things aren't usually as clear cut as you would want them to be. Golden Wind expands on some of the ways that people go about approaching self-acceptance and or how some of them stray away from it, and the results that come with both. Though not only the results. An example of a situation like this is Ibaka. Ibaka's history as a cop and what had happened to the cop that died on the line of duty because of his bribe is a constant weight on his conscience. It took a huge toll on him even before he had met Bruno and joined Passione, but even when joining the gang, it still held on to him, even to the point where it most likely affected his relationships with certain people, specifically Giorno, because the resolve he saw in Giorno was reminiscent to the cop that was killed. The effect of the event had done this much, and because of it, Ibaka had developed this guilt that shows in all the decisions he makes as a person after it. He's unable to accept himself for what he had done, but finding solace in Bruno and the group had bettered him so much that he doesn't have to think of it as such a huge bind as much as he did originally. Though the truth of the matter is that the grip hasn't exactly loosened, but more so backed into his subconscious, and it still reflects in his character. Though that makes you think about Ibaka's resolve, because where he finds the power for it could be either in his devotion to Bruno and the group, or it's because he feels like he needs to be a major help because of what he had done, and he feels like the good that he's doing for the group will end up making him feel better about himself in the end of it all. Probably both of those things, actually, when it comes to think about it, because when reconnecting with his cop friend, it's acknowledged that Ibaka had done a good job with everything that happened after, and considering the group are a bunch of sleeping slaves meant to be freeing those that were bound to fate, I'd say that all the events that fell in line had helped the grand scheme of things. Ibaka's self-acceptance had came from the good that he did, but that doesn't mean it was only because of that. Ibaka had become an all-around better person once he had started following the lit road of resolve that Bruno was guiding everyone in the group through. I would think that the cop would have been happy regardless of when Ibaka and him had reconnected, just because of how he had changed for the better. While I would consider this as validation because it required more than just Ibaka, the reason why he even felt the way he did was because of an event that was hurting someone else that's not him, and that hurt him more than him being the one to get hurt. So in this case, it required the cop. So there's that. Another case is Giorno in the White Album arc specifically. See, we all know that Giorno's dream is to be a gangstar, and to be a powerhouse like that, you should be able to be someone who can lead. Giorno before this arc had done a pretty great job at leading those with him by being the shining resolve to direct them through the darkness. So his leadership attributes are there, but the White Album arc had shown something. He is always able to learn, and he can be led too. Mista had been telling Giorno what to do because he had recognized the situation and believed it was the best idea because he's considering Ghiacciao's ability. Giorno at this time was being overwhelmed because of how strong Ghiacciao's White Album is, and instead of listening to Mista, he had picked his own decision. After he did, he realized it wasn't the best idea really, and he acknowledges his disadvantage in this fight. He felt so helpless. He started trembling in the same way that he did when he was a baby. You're going to see this in the manga. We didn't really see that in the anime. They didn't really do much of his trembling really at all in the anime, which is a huge difference. But Mista had helped and made the best of the situation, and he consistently did that in this fight. Everything that happened, all of that helped guide Giorno. Mista's resolve was the one to shine this time, and it illuminated the path that they don't walk on one ahead of the other, but instead it's one path that they walk together side by side. It's a beautiful moment, and I loved it so much. The group dynamic they have in Bruno's group, or well, the guard team, is one led by Bruno because he's the one with the missions, giving it out to everybody, but when it comes to executing plans, all of the members have the same path, and they can all have potential of being the light to guide everyone on the righteous path of fate. Ibaka had done it before, Bruno had done it, Naranch had done it. Trish does it and does it beautifully. Mista had done it. Fugo, shameless purple haze. Do what you will with that. And Giorno does it. Giorno realizes that making mistakes and not always being the one to have all the right ideas is okay because of Mista, and he develops for the better because of it. Being a leader and being able to accept your faults make you all the better for it because you're human. You're going to mess up at times, though people don't realize that. And sometimes not being able to realize you have an active ability to make mistakes will hurt you more in the end. Transitioning into the case of Diablo, or well, more so what Diablo is to represent instead of the character in its entirety. Diablo believes that the mistakes he's made in the past and the past itself is something to be removed because it hinders growth and can end up messing with him in the future. He stays in the shadows for this reason and keeps all traces of him hidden, when in actuality you're supposed to grow from your mistakes that you've made in the past, and the past itself is something that you can use to make yourself a better person in the future. And adding on to that, being in the shadows the whole time and trying to keep everything hidden is futile because everything will come out sooner or later. You know, like the quote, like everything comes to light. That's usually how that works. And in the direct case of Diablo's character, it's interesting because it does look like keeping his identity helps his situation, because that's usually the thing that his enemies require to come after him. But it does a great job at showing that attempting to keep your past away just doesn't work. That whole quote on your past just coming back to haunt you, like that exists in Diablo's whole character. And it's actually pretty interesting because there's a strong connection between King Crimson and just Diablo's beliefs like as a whole. King Crimson is in answer to the present. You can't really erase any of the events that have already happened in the past. And it makes sense because that, like Diablo, he only deals with what happens in the present and changes that, or just erases that in quotes. And you can't really change the past, but you should be able to learn and better yourself from it. Though Diablo as a character, he just more so answers his problems in the now instead of just thinking about like the grander scheme of things. But you know, what the character represents completely goes against what acceptance does look like, and it's interesting because, well, he's a bad guy. Araki makes it a point that the characters following the bright light that is resolve are the ones who experience self-acceptance. Meanwhile, the bad ones show that they don't. Not to make it a point that not accepting yourself makes you a bad guy, but just more so the action of not accepting yourself has been personified as a bad person because it's a bad trait. It's not the only thing about Diablo, but it is like a thing that is there. It's present. Part 5 really does go to show you that self-acceptance in your own individual way is a huge aid to growth, and not doing it doesn't really help you anyway. Which, in explanation, it's not like the most profound thing. It's pretty obvious. It's just that it's definitely a subtext that's present here in part 5. And along with that, there's a Murphy's Law-esque thing going on that if people don't come to terms with themselves, and they just like if like things are present to go wrong, they really will go wrong for the worst of it, really. But yeah. Thank you all for watching. This was not, it was like a nice little like subtext-ish type thing going on. Like, cause this isn't one of the bigger themes that I have covering the part. It's like one of the little intricacies that you'll see around, and like just, you know how it's nothing too out there, but it's there. So yeah, I like doing little things like that. I will be getting on into the bigger areas of part 5 though, but that just like, it's all together. It's a huge video. I've been having one thing in the works for like a pretty long time, but the video itself, it's going to be about like, I personally believe it's going to be like over 20 minutes because it's pretty extensive, and I go about like everything required. So yeah, hopefully I'll be able to get to certain things like that, but you know, like time is a terrible thing. It's I wish I definitely had more of it, but I'm really only one person. But yeah, I'm still working on the 100k special stuff because I wasn't just gonna release like just a video. I have like stuff planned, more stuff like when like after the video is over, you're gonna see some stuff and be like, oh shoot, I can go get insert thing here. But yeah, there's like stuff to be planned. It's just taking a bit, but you know, time is patience is a virtue. That's the thing. I was about to say time is a bitch, but we all know that. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Hope you're enjoying part 5. We have about like 8 weeks left. It's really sad. We finally got here, but now it's like already almost gone. But yeah, it's just about enjoying the journey, really. I don't have to be sad about it being over sooner or later. But yeah, thank you all for watching again. Hopefully I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, peace. Peace out, and Godspeed.